The wind whispered across the vast expanse of the Lahore estuary, a mournful sound that carried the tang of salt and the cries of distant gulls. Here, in this unique corner of South Wales, where the land meets the sea in a dance of ebb and flow, nature reigns supreme. Wild horses, their lineage stretching back through generations, roam freely across the coastal plains and marshlands. Their presence, a reminder of a time when the world was a wilder place, is a precious rarity in the United Kingdom. The Lahore estuary is a place of stark beauty, a landscape sculpted by the relentless rhythm of the tides. At low tide, the sea recedes, revealing a sprawling expanse of marshland, a mosaic of green and brown crisscrossed by winding channels. It is on this fertile land that the wild horses often graze, their hooves sinking softly into the damp earth. But this very landscape, so vital to their existence, can also become a treacherous trap. The estuary's tidal range is dramatic. What begins as a seemingly endless plain can, within a few short hours, be swallowed by the relentless advance of the sea. The water creeps in, first as a trickle in the channels, then as a surging tide, transforming the marshland into a vast, unforgiving lake. The animals that graze there are usually well versed in this daily cycle, moving to higher ground as the waters rise. But on this day, fate dealt a cruel hand to one unlucky mare. The white mare, her coat the color of sea foam, had been grazing with her young foal, a spirited chestnut colt with a playful glint in his eye. The day had been mild, the air filled with the sweet scent of sea lavender. Little did she know that this day would bring her to the brink of despair. It happened quickly, unexpectedly. Perhaps she had been scratching an itch, her powerful hind leg reaching up towards her head. Or perhaps she had stumbled, her hoof finding an awkward purchase. Whatever the cause, her right hind leg became entangled in the thick, matted strands of her own mane. It was a bizarre and cruel twist of fate, a freak accident that left her utterly helpless. The mare struggled, her powerful muscles straining against the impossible restraint. Panic flared in her eyes, a wild, desperate fear. Each movement only tightened the knot, the coarse strands biting into her flesh. She tried to rise, to regain her footing, but her trapped leg betrayed her, sending her crashing back to the unforgiving ground. The fall winded her, and as the minutes ticked by, a chilling realization began to dawn on her. She was trapped. The vastness of the marshland, once a source of freedom, now felt like a prison. The sun, which had moments before warmed her coat, now seemed to mock her with its indifference. Her foal, sensing his mother's distress, circled her, his small body trembling with agitation. He nudged her with his soft muzzle, his whinnies filled with a desperate urgency. He refused to leave her side, his loyalty a stark contrast to the mare's growing despair. He was too young, too small to understand the gravity of the situation, but his instincts told him that his mother was in danger. Time, measured by the relentless crawl of the tide, began to run out. The first tendrils of water snaked through the channels, reflecting the darkening sky. The mare, exhausted and defeated, lay with her head bowed, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Hope, once a flickering flame, began to dwindle, replaced by a cold resignation. She had given up the fight. But fate, it seemed, had not yet abandoned her. A lone figure, a walker enjoying the solitude of the estuary, spotted the downed horse. The walker, a woman named Alara, was a keen observer of nature, her heart attuned to the rhythms of the wild. She had seen the horses many times before, their graceful forms a familiar sight against the backdrop of the estuary. On this day, however, something was terribly wrong. Through her binoculars, Alara saw the white mare lying prone, her foal circling in distress. A knot of fear tightened in Alara's stomach. She knew the tides, their swift and unforgiving nature. She knew that the mare was in a desperate race against time. Alara did not hesitate. She pulled out her mobile phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she dialed the number for the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, RSPCA. Her voice, usually calm and steady, was laced with urgency as she described the location and the mare's predicament. She promised to stay with the horses, to be their silent guardian until help arrived. The wait was agonizing. Each minute stretched into an eternity as Alara watched the tide creep closer, the water now visibly advancing across the marshland. The foal, sensing the change in the air, became even more frantic, his whinnies sharper, more desperate. Alara could only offer silent words of comfort, her heart aching for the trapped animals. Finally, after what seemed like an endless half-hour, a vehicle appeared on the horizon, its blue lights flashing against the gathering gloom. The RSPCA volunteers had arrived, their faces etched with concern as they surveyed the scene. The sight that greeted them was indeed heartbreaking. The white mare lay on a small rise, a patch of slightly higher ground that offered no real protection against the encroaching tide. Her chestnut foal stood nearby, his head lowered, his body tense with fear and confusion. The volunteers, hardened by years of rescuing animals in distress, felt a pang of sympathy for the helpless creatures. The mare's condition was perplexing at first. She appeared to be otherwise healthy, her coat gleaming, her body well-nourished. But as the volunteers approached, the mystery of her immobility was revealed. Her right hind leg was ensnared, not by mud or injury, but by a tangled mass of her own mane. A collective gasp of disbelief rippled through the rescuers. How could such a thing have happened? They could only speculate that the mare, in a moment of distraction, had somehow managed to trap her hoof in the thick strands of hair. It was a bizarre and improbable situation, a cruel twist of fate that had brought this magnificent animal to the brink of disaster. The volunteers knew that they had to act quickly, but with utmost caution. The mare was wild, her instincts honed by a life lived free from human contact. Any sudden movement, any loud noise, could trigger a flight response, potentially causing further injury. If she were to panic and thrash, she could easily break her leg, sealing her fate. The rescuers were also mindful of the foal. Though small, he possessed the unpredictable nature of a wild animal. A well-aimed kick or bite could cause serious injury. They had to approach the situation with a delicate balance of speed and care. As the volunteers began to approach, the mare tensed, her eyes widening with alarm. She struggled to rise, her muscles bunching beneath her white coat, but the trapped leg held her fast. She crashed back to the earth, a tremor of defeat running through her body. The foal, his agitation reaching a fever pitch, darted around his mother, his hooves drumming a frantic rhythm on the damp earth. The volunteers, their movements slow and deliberate, advanced cautiously. One of them, a seasoned rescuer named Gareth, recognized the mare's fear. He understood that the key to this rescue was not brute force, but gentle persuasion. While the other volunteers positioned themselves to secure the foal if necessary, Gareth moved slowly towards the mare's head. He knelt down a few feet away, his voice soft and soothing, a low murmur of reassurance. The mare's reaction was immediate. Her head snapped up, her nostrils flaring. She threw her head from side to side, her eyes darting nervously. She made another desperate attempt to stand, her hooves scrabbling against the mud, but again, she was thwarted by the tangled mane. Gareth continued to speak to her, his voice a calming balm in the face of her fear. He began to gently stroke her neck, his touch light and reassuring. It was a gamble, a test of the mare's wild instincts against the power of human compassion. Slowly, miraculously, the mare began to respond. The tension in her body eased, her head lowered, her breathing became less ragged. She seemed to sense that Gareth's touch was not a threat, but an offer of help. She lay her head down on the damp earth, a sigh escaping her nostrils, as if she had finally surrendered to the inevitability of her situation, and, perhaps, to the unexpected kindness of a stranger. With the mare relatively calm, Gareth carefully examined the tangled mane. The situation was even more complicated than they had initially thought. The hair was matted and knotted, the strands twisted tightly around the mare's leg. He would need to cut it away, but he had to be precise, to avoid injuring the horse. Gareth reached into his kit and withdrew a sharp knife. The other volunteers watched with bated breath, their hearts pounding in their chests. One wrong move could undo all of Gareth's careful work. With a steady hand, Gareth began to cut. He worked slowly, meticulously, separating the tangled strands, freeing the trapped leg inch by agonizing inch. The mare remained still, her trust in Gareth unwavering. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the leg was free. Gareth quickly moved away from the mare, giving her space to recover. He didn't want to spook her or get in her way. The mare lay still for a moment, as if taking stock of her newfound freedom. She flexed her leg tentatively, testing its range of motion. Her her foal, who had watched the entire proceedings from a safe distance, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and hope, took a tentative step towards his mother. The mare pushed herself up, her movements unsteady at first. She swayed slightly, her legs trembling. The long period of immobility had taken its toll. The rescuers held their breath, their concern for the mare's well-being growing. She took a few tentative steps, her foal mirroring her movements, staying close by her side. They moved out of the small depression where she had been trapped, the mare pausing frequently to regain her balance and confidence. Then she turned to face her rescuers. For a long moment, she stood there, her gaze sweeping across the small group of humans who had saved her life. It was as if she was acknowledging their presence, perhaps even expressing a silent gratitude. There was a profound connection in that moment, a recognition of the shared bond between human and animal. Then, with a final decisive movement, she turned and walked away, her foal trotting by her side. They moved across the marshland, their white and chestnut forms silhouetted against the gathering dusk. The rescuers watched them go, a wave of relief and exhilaration washing over them. The RSPCA volunteers made their way back to their vehicle, their hearts full. They had witnessed a miracle, a testament to the resilience of the wild horse and the power of human compassion. They knew that the rising tide would soon claim the marshland, erasing all traces of the rescue. But the memory of the white mare and her foal, their desperate plight, and their triumphant return to freedom would remain etched in their minds forever. This rescue was a stark reminder of the delicate balance of nature, the beauty and the danger that coexist in the wild. It also served as a powerful reminder of the importance of kindness and intervention. Had Alara not been there, had the RSPCA not responded so quickly and efficiently, the mare and her foal would have perished, swallowed by the unforgiving tide. It is a story that speaks to the best in us, our capacity for empathy and our willingness to help those in need, regardless of species. It is a reminder that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, hope can prevail, and that even the smallest act of compassion can have a profound impact on the lives of others. The wild horses of the Lochor estuary, and indeed all creatures, depend on our respect and protection.